Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the Crucible Boot Camp. I'm your host, King Koala, and today we're going to be covering some Rumble matches on Widow's Court by a Slack member named Sneezeman. He's playing a Nightstalker, and we'll see that he's using a Shotgun Pulse loadout. So let's get right into it. So Widow's Court is a really weird Rumble match because you can't really rotate around the map very effectively because of how open everything is. So this is one of those maps where I would tell people to control a zone. You see that he wins his first challenge and then he loses the second. I don't really like that challenge that he had here just because he was pretty much in the open. He should have killed that guy. Yeah, the guy got lucky. He didn't get a burst off of him while he was floating. But the thing on Widow's Court is you want to hold the zone, especially with a shotgun. You want to hold a zone where there's a lot of choke points. And the area by this heavy, there aren't very many good choke points in this area because it's such a long lane. You want to either be on B or out by apartments, which is behind A. And the reason you want to cover those areas is because people have to move into you through choke points, and you're constantly under cover. So we'll see throughout this match, he doesn't do a very good job of moving to those points until much later in the game. This is another really really challenge to make. He's playing Nightstalker, and the thing about Nightstalker is that you have to utilize your shadestep, and it's always going to be defensive. Whether that be to disorient your opponents while you're moving around or to disengage in a gunfight. When you're using a pulse rifle and you miss that first burst, you want to immediately shade step back into cover, especially if you've already gotten hit, because there's no best case scenario is you're going to trade, and worst case is, as we saw, is you're just going to die pretty much for free. Like, he put up a fight, but it would have been safer for him to back pedal into cover, and because he's running a shotgun, pull them around the corner into him. So runs through church and he wastes his Wombo here. He hears someone up there, but you don't want to waste that smoke, especially as a shotgunner. If you manage to smoke someone, they're pretty much a free kill with your shotgun. If you're shotgunning, honestly, I would prefer you to run Vortex over Void Wall. And the reason for that being, especially in Rumble, is that you're going to rely pretty heavily on your shotgun during a Rumble. You want to get those kills as fast as possible by losing as little health. And even 2 ticks from a Vortex grenade is going to drastically reduce the number of pellets you're going to need to kill with your shotgun at ideal range, or you can kill even further out because they're going to be already primed with your grenade. And Void Wall takes a little while to get those ticks off. With Vortex, you can just throw it at their feet and you're immediately going to have that effect. Whereas if you throw Void Wall at someone, it could potentially bounce off and get a weird break where the line isn't where you want it to be. So that was a great example of was losing the gunfight and he just shade steps back into cover. This is what you should be doing if you're playing Nightstalker, especially now that there's the nerf to the cooldown on it. It's really nice here. He does bait him around the corner, but at this point, now that he's backpedaling, if someone's backpedaling or in the air like this, you don't want to jump after them. And he does this a lot, but as he's shotgunning, he's not follow-up meleeing. I know I don't talk about the basic gun skill stuff a lot, but if you are going to shotgun, then you basically have nothing to lose following up meleeing every single shot. And at that range, you would have killed him with the melee if you locked onto him. So now that he's in B, this is a great opportunity to use this elevation, jump on the fountain, jump on the walls, get vantage points over people, see where people are moving. A lot of people move through this mid lane out by beach behind you, and then they'll spawn up here around the heavy. So just posting up on a wall and then being able to shade step back into cover off the wall is really going to help you out as far as getting kills and getting first shot off. There's a nice chase here after getting a couple free shots. And he sees a couple people trade. So, well, if you're going to wombo, you normally want to wombo while you're moving backwards. And always, always, always throw your smoke first. Smoke's going to disorient people. Some people are just going to be able to see through the smoke. But getting that smoke off is going to slow him down, especially if he's sliding into you. And at this point, if you had smoked first, then you could have gotten your shotgun shot off instead of your grenade. The powerful part about Wombo is not the fact that it can kill when your grenade's up. It's the fact that whenever your smoke is up, you're almost guaranteed a kill in any primary fight, or if you're shotgunning, as long as you're moving in and out of cover. His approach on this challenge is really risky, even though he does have his Wombo up. Jumping in the air like that basically means that you're not running shadestep anymore. Shadestep forces you to play on the ground a lot, and pretty much the only time you jump up is to jump over someone, or if you're in close quarters combat and you've disoriented them and you're just shotgunning them from beneath you. You don't want to shadestep and then jump into the air right in front of someone, because your accuracy is going to go down on your primary unless you're using a hand cannon, and even then you're still better off being on the ground. And the way you use shadestep offensively is you get close to cover and you use it like a slide. So what you can actually do is, the neat things you can do with shadestep is he could slide around this corner, shadestep backwards. Let's say this guy's running a shotgun, shadestep backwards to make sure he's out of one hit kill range. And then after this guy has fired his shotgun shot, you slowly edge forward at the edge of your shadestep. So as you come out of shadestep, you are in one hit kill range now with your shotgun. That's the kind of movement we want to use if we're shotgunning. So this courtyard area is the one area you never want to be on Widow's Court. You're basically, there's no cover and there's not much you can do. So you see now, like, this is why you go into apartments. That was a free kill. He was just running right into him. You don't normally want to back out into courtyard unless there are people, and you can see on his radar, there's someone up here in apartments or around apartments. He's lucky this guy didn't just wait on the stairs and just kill him. Again, he should be moving back towards apartments instead of staying in courtyard. The only time you want to be in courtyard is if you're trying to pick up heavy, or you need to get the special. And now he's effectively pinched himself, and this is exactly why you never want to go into courtyard. It's because someone's over here. He sees him. Okay, so you pretty much know the other person at this point. Like, playing Ring Around Lorelei like this just shows me that you don't really understand either A, the map, or B, how to read your radar properly. Because if you well, I guess it's really a combination of both. Because if you read your radar properly, you would know he's somewhere over here to the left, which means he's no longer going to be around these stairs. He's trying to circle around behind you. So you don't actually have to go all the way around. And now you've jumped over the wall. Lucky he backtracks, but now he's backtracked and pulled you out into the open. And you don't even have your primary out. Kills a guy off spawn. You should be sliding a lot more. Slide into where you want to go. Blip in and out of radar. This is a really, really bad challenge too, because this, like we saw in my 1v3, I was here sniping, and it's very easy for him to pull back into cover. Whereas Sneeze Man is right now, he's completely exposed in the open. His front and his back are exposed. And then you waste your Wombo and you shade step, instead of back into cover, you shade step basically onto a wall. If you shade step back behind the truck, at least you have a fighting chance. Maybe he'll push you and you can shotgun him. Or you can just push back into B under cover. Again, get on these walls, just like that. You don't even need to challenge this. Other side, if it wasn't heavy, you don't need to challenge from there. Good super, like don't waste time trying to give them a chance to pick up the heavy or anything. You can see that the other heavy's still up, so you can go for a free kill. You can't hear it, but someone's tethered, so just get a free kill. Now, when there's a tether here, you don't know necessarily if it's quiver or black hole. You need to go around. He's lucky that it runs out like right when it does. Otherwise, he would have been tethered here. Just a tiny note about rockets. You want to aim at the ground where they're going to land. You don't want to aim to hit them. Even if it's... I mean, truth is a little bit different, but you didn't lock on, so... If you're going to hip fire, you got to aim where they're going to go to. So now he's been pinched. And here's another example of you need to follow up melee. This is a trade. If you follow up melee. So again, we're challenging in the open. It would have been better for you to slide and then shade step in behind this dumpster. Also, pushing stairs is really risky on Widow's Court because you can get shot in the back by a sniper. A lot of people snipe on this map. I'm surprised that there were so many shotgunners. It's a good challenge. Normally when you finish these kills as a Nightstalker, if your shade steps up, you want to shade step back into cover as you're killing. Especially in Rumble. You want to reduce the time that you're exposed to anyone spawning or anyone moving around the map. So I'm going to replay that particular kill because it tells me a lot about how comfortable you are with your radar. Again, you can see that he's pushing you upstairs, and now you know he's right around this corner. This is a perfect opportunity for you to slide shotgun into him, or potentially slide and shade step around to get behind him, or even just jump over this wall, this enclosure, and shotgun him from above. But instead, you kind of just you do what you want him to do to you, and that's just walk into your gun. He has a Lord or Wolf, so if you jump there, he probably misses one or two of the shots, and you kill him for free. This is a great Wombo. That's exactly what you want to do. He Wombos, he slowly backpedals with his primary out. Those are the kind of Wombos that you want to do pretty much every single time. It's either that or you smoke someone and move in for a shotgun kill or move back for a primary kill. Pretty much every time your smoke is up, you want to convert it into a kill. It's the most powerful piece of your kit. Okay, he gets a nice jump shotgun here. He's getting pushed. And so he, despite not being comfortable necessarily moving, he is comfortable with understanding when he needs to pull out his secondary, which I really liked. I really like that you pulled out your shotgun there, and you do that often. Normally you have the right gun for what's going on. So that's a good example of shade stepping around someone to disorient them. He just jumps above them, shade steps back, comes it back in, gets that kill. Now his super's up here, and in Rumble you just want to use it. You didn't need to double jump there. Just burn your super, you get super armor, so this guy's probably not going to kill you. Even if he does, it's going to be a trade. But instead, you do the worst thing, and the thing that most Nightstalkers that I see do. It's that you jump in the air instead of shade stepping around, and then you waste your Wombo. You would have been better off jumping around and trying to shotgun him than wasting a Wombo like that. So again, in the courtyard, and we're already surrounded. So right there, that's another perfect opportunity to just burn your super. You're in the open, you know someone's on stairs, or someone's around stairs. Just use your super. There's no reason for you to hold on to the super. Rumble is about the time it takes for you to kill people and the time it takes for you to get to the next person to kill them. So the faster you kill someone, the more likely you are to win the Rumble. Especially because every second that you spend holding onto the super is a second that you're not spending charging a new one. So every kill you get with a super up is wasted, essentially. Still, we're holding under a super and we're pushing onto the open. Mid lane is, again, is another place you really don't want to be. A melee there would have finished him off. So there's 4 or 5 kills throughout this entire match that he could have had instead of dying. And we can see by the score, that those 4 or 5 kills from those mistakes, he would have won the match. He manages to take the top leader, so this is really your opportunity. Your one opportunity. There's 30 seconds left. This is your only opportunity for you to catch back up and win the round. So you need to be hunting people. You don't need special. Like, you had one shot, that's enough for 1 kill. You have a primary, you have a Wombo up, that's enough for 2 more kills. You could have potentially won. It would have been hard, but... And right there at the end, he finally follows up with a melee. That's what you should be doing every single time. Even if you know you're going to kill them with the one shot, you should still be follow-up meleeing on the off chance that it just misses. Or they live with just a sliver of health. You want to give them as little opportunity to have counterplay against you as possible. So, really the big takeaways for me there were you need to practice more on your shade stepping and understanding how to move in and out of cover. Work on getting more comfortable sliding into people or sliding away and pulling away with your smoke. Don't be afraid to hold on to or don't be afraid to use your super, even if you miss. I mean, you're running black hole, so even if you miss, you're still going to pretty much guaranteed to kill them. And finally, when you do end up playing Rumble, you need to understand where the power points on the map are. And on Widow's Court, I mean that comes with experience and time, or someone like me telling you. But again, like I was saying before, you wanna be in these controlling these zones here. And that's because everyone moves through these lanes and these lanes and these lanes. These are the major traffic lanes. So you can see that you're going to cover 2 traffic lanes from either of these positions and have plenty of cover to dip back in and out of. I wouldn't suggest rotating around on this map just because there's so much open space between these 2 power points that you're going to normally get picked off while you're trying to move, because people are going to spawn. If you're here, people are going to start spawning behind you and in front of you, and you're already pinched without really realizing it when they just move to try to get kills. So as a shotgunner on Widow's Court, like I said, you want to utilize all this cover. So be anywhere around the fountain, and these walls provide really good cover. There's a little rock here that you can dip in and out of. There's this wall here. This little area here is really nice. You can also jump on top of it and get nice sight lines around either side. You're a little exposed up here to snipers, but normally the people on perch don't have a shot on you. People out here on beach do, but that's just a risky run. If you're going to shotgun out on A, then being in A is really nice. Try not to go up onto the walker. That's where a lot of snipers look. Using the gazebo and the shelf is really nice if you're crouched. If you're crouched around shelf, you can't actually see the head from perch. If you can, it's a very, very tight shot. We're talking like pixels. And of course, apartments. And we saw most of his shotgun kills, the really good ones, came from apartments. And that's because it's a lot of corners to walk around, a lot of blind corners. You could be either on top or below. If you're going to try to do it like a seesaw motion where you go from, well, let's say shelf. If you move from shelf down into courtyard, you want to come behind this wall to challenge, because that gives you shots at people trying to move in apartments, shots at people coming out of church, and people that go into courtyard. And you can dip back into cover. So it's okay to move towards courtyard to challenge people trying to go in there. But you want to do it from cover. So really behind this wall, on top of the broken building and apartments. And if you have a scout or a pulse rifle, if you stand on this corner here, you actually have a shot on the perch. Not a lot of people know about that, but you can get a few shots off on a perch. A lot of people on perch will try to challenge you, or they won't even know where you are. And it's pretty easy to dip back into cover right there. Sniping is really, really easy on Widow's Court because all the lanes are so long. Perch is really nice. There's a little head glitch through this window that you can see shelf. You can also go onto perch around these blocks and head glitch down into courtyard. If you're in courtyard, you can head glitch here up into perch. You can head glitch here on this wall up into A. You can head glitch here in this around this pillar in church, and that actually shoots up into the stairs. Bottom street, you can see all the way down mid. And then on shelf, you can actually see out to beach. You can see out to heavy. If you come around here, you can see out into the top stairs. You can see all the way down street onto perch. If you're on Walker, which is where I like to snipe in trials, because most people expect you to go to the stairs. If you're on Walker, you can actually see down over this wall. And the head glitch on here is pretty bad if you're on Walker, because more of you is exposed. So this is a nice spot. The difficult part about being on Walker is that you really have to know where their head is going to be. You do have time to get a second shot off, but against good snipers, you're really only going to have time for one shot. So getting comfortable with where the head is actually at from that angle is something you should practice. If you're up top here, you can actually see all the way down here. Like I said before, if you're on this pillar, you can see into perch. If you're on stairs, you can see down into courtyard and into church. If you're on apartments, you can see in this little cubby behind the church. So there's lots of really good spots to snipe on this map, as opposed to shotgunning, where there's really only two points. If you're sniping, you can slowly move between most of the sniper lines. pretty much the entire time. You could potentially stay on one half of the map and move in a big arc on either side, and just snipe people as you move. It's a lot easier to do a rotation as a sniper on this map compared to a shotgunner. Fusions on this map pretty much encompass the same space as the shotguns. You really want to avoid top street because people pretty much spawn all around you. Same thing with courtyard. You're getting spawned all around. Okay, kind of a short one today because I'm still preparing for the next episode, which I'll talk about at the end here. But now's your guys' opportunity to ask questions. So feel free to ask questions. You want to talk about Widow's Court, you want to talk about different game modes, different maps, just go ahead and let me know. Do the areas that are good for shotguns on Widow's Court change based on your class? I would say as a Nightstalker, shotgunning, you're a lot safer in these areas. As a Sunsinger shotgunning, you're pretty safe as well. The change on Flame Shield's a little iffy as far as winning melee fights goes, just because that delay in time, you could potentially get shotgun meleeed and die, as opposed to before where you might get shotgun meleeed and survive potentially. But as a Nightstalker, I would say Castle is actually a strong place to shotgun as well. But for the most part, if you're Titan and you're shotgunning on Widow's Court, you really need to utilize your skating and your movement to get on top of people. Whether you use Juggernaut or Shoulder Charge. If you do use Shoulder Charge, then the way you need to move around the map is Shoulder Charge into cover, just like you would a shadestep. The pushes where we saw Sneezeman kind of pushed out with his shotgun in the open, as a Titan, you could actually be successful with those pushes if you're using Juggernaut. So if you're using Juggernaut as a Titan, it really opens up spaces that are safe for you. For example, this lane here, which is pretty much completely open, is safe if you pre-charge your Juggernaut shield here and then run around the corner skating. But shotgunning on a Titan in general is pretty much predicated on how good you are at using Juggernaut. If you're going to shoulder charge as a Titan, you're better off not running a shotgun, because instead of just killing out someone outright with a shotgun, you're normally going to trade with your shoulder charge. Or just lose to a shotgun yourself mid-shoulder charge, which happens a lot. So if you do want to shotgun on Widow's Court, I'd highly suggest using Juggernaut, just because there are a lot of open spaces, and then it really opens up your ability to move around the map. So you could potentially rotate all the way out here instead of just staying in this general vicinity pretty safely as a shotgunner. Using blink is still pretty good on this map, especially if you're blinking from out of cover. Obviously it's worse now because of the change to the ready time and all that stuff, but you can potentially blink in and out of cover to close gaps. So you're not necessarily going to blink on top of someone, but you're going to blink close and then slide into them. That's always really nice. It's really good for Voidwalkers if you're going to use an Axiom Bolt and then chase the Axiom Bolt as it chases them, pushing them out of position. And the same areas that are good for shotguns also are okay for sniper rifles as well. As we can see, there's a lot of sightlines, but also if you're comfortable with that mid-range shot, especially like say here behind apartments, you can get pretty good mid-range shots through these areas. And I mean, you could, this shot here isn't very long. Any shots from back here in the courtyard aren't very long. Is running a shotgun on this map viable in scrims? Yes and no. It depends on how comfortable you are understanding the setup And I say setup because it's really hard to push spawns on this map. If you can set up spawns. What do I mean by setup? Well, Fizzer actually has a really nice setup for Widow's Court. If you want to Google on you, or you just search YouTube for Fizzer's Widow's Court setup. But basically, you have someone here on shelf, someone here on gazebo, and someone here out by top heavy. And so this location basically means that the enemy team, the furthest point that they're going to spawn is out on beach. And if we know that they're always going to spawn out on beach, we can kind of predict the lanes that they're going to move down. And so if you're using long range primaries, then you can basically cover their push up into you. And if they ever get close enough, you can use a shotgun and kill them. Or you can have snipers covering these same lanes. But basically, we can see that all these lanes that they can push into us, they're very long, they're very open, and they're very predictable. So you line up as a team in this sort of position. So when someone calls out where someone is pushing from, you can rotate. Shelf is the most important location to control on the setup, because you need to be able to push back towards gazebo and beyond to cover someone pushing from behind apartments or up through courtyard. And you can also quickly support the person in top heavy. And the same thing with the person in top heavy. They can quickly support you on top street. And you never really need to push spawns in this kind of setup. It's really important that your teammates and you yourself don't push too far to ruin the setup and to get them to spawn closer than you want them to. So you don't want to push out this far, because you could potentially split spawn them. And the issues with being split spawned on Widow's Court is that it's so long that it's very, very easy to get a nice flank on you, even though they're split spawned. And these long lanes mean that if you try to push the split, you could potentially get picked off because of how long it takes to get there. Or by the time that you do get there, the enemy team has pushed up in such a way where you're going to be pinched in a corner. And you're not really going to have very many good options. You're going to lose control of the map. And if they set up here and you're basically forced to constantly push into them, it's going to be a really big issue. It basically becomes the same issue that you have on Blind Watch, and why Blind Watch is banned most of the time. And I've been noticing more and more people like vetoing Widow's Court, because if you are really good at this setup, then it's not fun for either team, really. It's really boring for the team that has the setup, and it's really hard to break the setup as a team that's spawning out on beach. But to answer your question, is a shotgun viable on this map? It is if you're constantly rotating around the map, and the enemy team doesn't understand the setup. So, and if you are running the setup, then you can still run a shotgun, and the purpose of running your shotgun is to stop the push in to break the setup. It's not necessarily to go out and find kills. It's really completely defensive. You always want at least one sniper on Widow's Court, preferably on the shelf or on the gazebo. I wouldn't really... The angles on from top heavy down fountain towards beach are pretty hard to get on lock. It's a lot easier to deal with people going to perch or down in the courtyard, just because, I mean, that's where most people go anyway. So you should have prior knowledge on kind of where they're going to be at. Whereas this location here is a little iffy for snipers. Plus, if we have our sniper on shelf, then we can more easily support, as a sniper, these other long lanes. I guarantee you that if you're struggling as a shotgunner on Widow's Court, it's because you're moving into the enemy team too much in scrims. You need to let them pull into you, and you need to prime them with your primary. Even if they move in and out of cover, that means you need to backpedal out in the open. You need to be able to get first shot off, or really anticipate where they're going to go. Like if you and your teammates rotate over to the apartments, you can push into apartments very aggressively with a shotgun. can just jump around this corner and send 2 people, 1 high, 1 low, and really push hard into apartments. And you'll make them really, really scared to go in there for most of the match. That was a good question, though. We will be looking and breaking down a sweat from all 6 points of view and really go deep into what makes a play good and how you make those plays happen, so you can actually see an entire team move around the map. And we can critique. I basically get to critique everybody. So it should be really interesting. It's going to be a longer stream, and I don't think I'm going to do any questions at the end because of how long it's going to be. But I've been looking forward to this a lot. And as a special surprise, I highly suggest you guys go check out the Crucible Radio episode on Monday. But as usual, thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you guys soon. Koala out.